to the Cathedral of Shadows, where demons gather.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Cathedral of Shadows, a Megami Tensei Podcast. I'm Rasen,
I'm Katsu.
and we are finally back from what seems like forever, even though I think it's been less than a month, but man, we haven't recorded in a while, and that's thrown me
Long
off.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's throwing off our groove a bit.
yeah, so now we're back, and we missed out on a lot of news that we need to cover. We probably aren't going to be able to cover everything. Like we probably missed something or other that we probably should have talked about, but forgive us, we've been out of the groove. So we're back though. I got my new computer, actually a pretty good deal, and yeah, I think we're going to go back to weekly podcasts. So that is awesome. But with the new computer comes new opportunities. So I am actually on Twitch now. My Twitch account is Rasen22. I'll link to it below. And in every episode after this, I'll add it to the little link dump thing we do at the end. And yeah, it's been fun so far. I actually was just streaming last night. We tried recording this last night, but little audio recording issue came up and we had to scrap it, and now we're re-recording now. But yeah, I streamed Nocturne a bit last night, and I've done 2 Persona 3 portable streams. Been a lot of fun, and I'm letting the chat decide stuff. Like, I'm letting the chat decide who I social link with. I'm letting the chat decide what stat points I should raise during level ups and Nocturne. There's been a few technical issues and stuff, but I'm starting to work those out, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff there. And Katsu, soon your internet situation is going to be better, and you're going to be able to start
Yes.
streaming.
And I'm actually looking into getting a new computer too. Probably gonna have to find a good deal somewhere out there on eBay. I just want a Windows 7 gaming laptop. Since the OS is Windows 7, it should be cheaper.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd eBay for that, but that can be risky. But
It could be risky, but I'm willing to take that risk.
okay,
Life's
okay.
not exciting unless you take risks.
I don't trust hardware stuff like that on eBay, but if you want to, man, okay. Um, yeah, it's been really fun with that. So you're gonna stream Digital Devil Saga, right? Whenever you get around to it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for a Maho Shoujo Surf run.
What?
I'm gonna make Surf a magical girl.
Okay. Okay, that explains it. Oh man. So yeah, I look forward to that. And man, speaking of Digital Devil Saga, since we've been gone, I beat DDS2 finally, and holy shit, what a game! What, like, I said this on Twitter a bit, but I'm gonna say it here. Digital Devil Saga is probably the branch of Mega 10 that I have the least amount of issues with. Like, damn, those games are fantastic.
Yeah, they're really, really good. I love those games.
Now I understand why you're fanboys or you're a
Yes.
fanboy of that game and why they're your favorite. Yeah, definitely. Digital Devil Saga 1 and 2 are probably tied for second place right after Devil Survivor 2 for me in terms of favorite Megami Tensei games. Oh my God, those games are just fantastic. And I think we decided that next week we're just gonna have a Digital Devil Saga focused podcast and just talk about everything from those games. Yeah, I pretty much did everything in those games except for beat Satan.
Yeah, you need to get on that Satan grind.
I know. Well, I'm actually done with the grind. It's just a matter of actually doing the fight and coming out victorious. Um, Holy shit, that boss is so RNG dependent. So, for those of you who aren't aware, I'm always explaining stuff for those of you that aren't aware. Satan is the hardest boss in Digital Devil Saga 2. Not as hard as the Demi Fiend from DDS 1, but the fight is more RNG dependent, I guess you could say. So the thing with the Demi Fiend is that fight takes forever to prepare for because you basically need to get as close to max stats as possible. And that can be really hard because the only way to get stat raising items in DDS1 is from random encounters, and it takes forever to farm for them. In Digital Devil Saga 2, in the final dungeon, you can get stat raising items like no problem. Even there are these boxes in the game that you can get from shops, and if you go get the most expensive box at a full moon, it'll almost always give you a stat raising item. So you just need to get a bunch of
Yep.
money and then buy a bunch of those boxes, and you'll have incredible stats. It doesn't take too long. So the preparation is shorter, but the actual fight itself, I'm having a lot more trouble with than the Demi Fiend, because the Demi Fiend is also very luck dependent. But if you do the best Demi Fiend strategy, the Red Star strategy, or I guess the most safe Demi Fiend strategy, you have a 50% chance of coming out victorious. Basically, it's a matter of if you get hit and survive the first Gaia Rage. Um, so it basically just comes down to, does one of your characters fall asleep? And if they fall asleep, if they have no sleep, they survive. Everything will be good. Or if no one falls asleep, then everyone will die and you just have to restart. So basically just a 50% chance of winning on that. Satan, there's a lot more RNG stuff involved, and the fight is very complex. So
It's very complex. It's very long, and when you get him to low health, probably like 10%, I think, it just becomes really chaotic.
yeah, okay, so here's the Satan fight. So first thing off the bat, Satan has a cycle of 4 turns, and when he's going from turn 3 to turn 4, if at least one of your characters does not have fully buffed stats, as in every single stat needs to be fully buffed 3 levels, Satan will use an attack called God's Breath and kill you. But if you do have a character that has fully buffed stats, he will use an attack called, or no, he'll just use Dekaja and he'll just nullify your buffs. So you need to keep that in mind, and before the third turn, or before the fourth turn comes out, you need to make sure that you have at least one character that's fully buffed. But the thing with that is then he also casts Debilitate, and he'll try to nullify those charges every once in a while that you do. So you need to
Hmm.
watch out for that too, and it's a pain in the ass just to keep track of that in your head. You kind of need to practice, I find. So I'm good with that. But then also you need to keep track of what turn he's on, because if you're not charging, you want to somehow squeeze some damage out. So what I do is I have a piece of paper with like a little coin I can move around that is just marked 1 through 4, and then I just put the coin to whatever turn number he's on. But then on top of that, he has I guess multiple,
Phases.
yeah, phases. So once he reached 1,500 HP, he uses an attack called Temptation, which will charm everyone, and that's a pain in the ass. So between turns 4 and 1, you need to put a charm shield up, and then later on, when he gets real close to death, he just starts killing off your character with the lowest magic stat, and it's almost impossible to do damage to him. And during all of this, you could just get hit by a Mamudon if you don't have Void Death up, and basically it just makes it really hard to ever get an attack in because you're just spending so much time healing and charging
And you
so you
need
don't die.
to get an attack in that will kill him from a certain range, because you'll just Dia Rahan and get all that health back.
Yeah, if he falls below 1,500 HP and he's not dead, that his first move will be to use Dia Rahan, so you basically just lost.
Yeah.
Because chances are you have spent so many resources during that fight that there's no fucking way you can do that all again. So it's just like, oh, he cast Dia Rahan, I'm turning the PS2 off. Fuck that. So
Yeah. Turn the PS2 off, get a soda,
yeah.
have a drink, and contemplate what you're gonna do next.
The closest I've ever gotten is I got him. I Oh, that's the other thing. Since you want to be keeping track of his HP, not only do you want a piece of paper or something out to keep
Bring a
track of his,
calculator.
yeah, you bring a calculator. I have a fucking graphing calculator on my floor right now. Actually, I'm looking at it, just for the Satan fight, and man, it's just a pain in the ass because you need to keep track of so much stuff, and if you forget one thing,
You're
chances are
screwed.
you died. So yeah, and it's just so long too. Like it's 30 minutes. I think I'm on my 20th I lost my 20th Satan attempt, and I'm like, you know what? I don't have time for this. I'm just gonna play Nocturne and Persona 4, so I'm gonna start those up soon. Oh my god, though, that fight is very frustrating. It's just a matter of luck, and I know that, so I just need to get to a point where the game decides to not hate my guts. Uh,
Yeah.
and then eventually I'll do that. But as for now, I'm gonna just keep it on the down low. That's the one thing in Digital Devil Saga I need to do yet is beat Satan. But damn, this is not a very fun fight. But I guess we can get into news and stuff now. So we kind of broke this up into pre E3 stuff and E3 stuff. So the first real thing that we want to talk about in terms of news is that Persona 4 Golden the animation starts July 10th.
Yes.
Finally got a date on that, so everyone get hype or stay salty, whatever. However you feel
I'm.
about Persona 4 Golden the animation.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I had no idea how I'm supposed to feel about Persona 4 Golden the animation. I just don't.
Hopefully it's not garbage. Let's
I'm getting a feel so complicated from this anime.
all we can do is wait for the first few episodes and see if they're good or not.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of a thing sometimes with stuff like this. It's kind of hard to judge just from one episode alone if it's going to be good or bad. Like fucking Devil Survivor 2. I really liked the first three episodes of that.
It had a really strong beginning, and then it just kind of fell flat on its
And then it
face.
got and then it just kind of went to shit towards the end, and then like you rewatch it and it's just like, this was terrible. So
Worst part is you decided to watch it again with the dub.
I watched the Devil Survivor 2 dub. It's so bad. Oh my god.
BBK!
Everyone sounds like they're 40. Daichi sounds like a chain smoker. It's hilarious.
One of the voice actors is a registered sex offender.
Yes, and that's the other thing. I posted this on the COS Twitter. Thanks for reminding me because we actually didn't talk about this when we recorded this podcast last night. Fucking, there was a person that posted in I think he sent a thing to me on it was last episode we were talking about the dub just a bit because the first. Okay, well actually I want to clear this up. I thought only the first episode was out. No, they released the entire full 13, 12, I think it's 12 episodes. The entire thing was put up as a dub, and I just hadn't noticed since I only saw the first one. So yeah, just the entire series is up at this point. But someone posted a comment, and oh shit, I'll have a picture of it up here. I'm sorry, I can't remember who exactly showed this to me, but someone said, well, the guy who voices Alcor is listed on Wikipedia as a sex offender, and apparently he is currently in jail as a sex offender because he like had some relation.
He married a 16-year-old.
Yeah, something weird like that, and he's in jail now. So not only is the dub shit, it's also involved with like pedophiles. So yeah, that was not great. And there's this one guy who got really mad at me because I was making fun of the dub on Twitter, and I just got a good laugh out of that. But God, yeah, that Devil Survivor dub fucking sucks. It's so terrible. But other anime news: Persona 3, Persona 3 movie number 3, got a full title shown, and apparently it's called Persona 3, the movie Falling Down.
Falling down.
So going with the seasonal thing, fall.
Yes.
Oh man, so yeah, stay tuned for that. Apparently, I think the second movie is out now, and there's a Kotaku review thing that like a little review that they had. I saw it. Someone posted on the subreddit.
Yeah.
Apparently the movie is good, but the guy complained there was too much fan service, which people on Reddit got really angry over, which made me laugh because everyone was arguing over fan service. So, like that was half the comments of that Reddit
The fan
post.
service, that was like the most fan service-y Persona 3 ever got.
Yeah.
After that, they just stopped having fun.
Pretty much. Well, there's no time to have fun in Persona 3 after that, except for the social links, which they don't have in the movie really. So.
Yeah.
Oh man. I guess moving on to more game stuff, there was a little Ultra Chen stream with the first real hands-on gameplay stuff we got with Persona 4 Arena Ultimax.
Yeah, Unamba was on there. He showed off Rise and Ken.
Yeah, why don't you explain? You'll probably explain this better than I can. Why don't you explain what Ultra Chen is for those Ultra Chen TV? I guess the full name is for those of our listeners that aren't fighting game people.
For those who don't know, Ultra Chen TV it's kind of it's sort of like a podcast, but at the same time it's not. They stream it on Twitch. They stream it live on Twitch. It's a thing made up of two guys who are prominent in the fighting game community. I think they used to be very good they be very strong tournament players before they kind of just retired and stuck to commentating.
Yeah, they're big Street Fighter
Uh,
2 people, I think, was their thing.
yeah. One of them is Ultra David, the other guy is James Chen, and they're really cool guys. They commentate most of the Capcom fighters, Street Fighter, Marvel. They've done commentary for other stuff. I know James Chen commentated Guilty Gear during several events. He also commentated Persona a few times. So yeah, they mainly do fighting game commentary now.
Both really
And
nice people, and also Ultra David's like a lawyer, and he's like actually been on
yeah,
TV. He's been on TV and shit. So
yeah,
it's
he's a lawyer.
yeah, and then yeah, James Chen's just a really nice dude.
So they had Unamba on their show, and for those who don't know, again, Unamba is one of the big wigs at Atlus USA.
Yeah,
He's the
involved with a lot of
translator
projects.
guy. He goes to Japan. Yeah, he goes to Japan and like communicates with the Japanese Atlus headquarters. And yeah, they had him on. He brought Persona 4 Ultimax, the same build that was at Evo, and yeah, he showed off characters. He showed off Rise and her gimmick. Showed off Ken, and it was a good time.
It was a lot of fun. They answered questions. Your question got answered. I was not able to see it because I had to leave for the night. But
Yeah, my
yeah,
question got answered.
yeah, something about the P3P main character, right? Or the female
Yeah.
main character.
I asked you, Namba, who was his Persona waifu, and why was it the female protagonist from Persona 3 Portable?
Oh, that's funny. How do you respond again? Didn't you say something like it was fun to work with translate
Yeah,
that or
it
something?
was fun. It was fun localizing Persona 3 Portable because it was such a different experience.
Yeah, I can see that. Um, oh man, so yeah, that was good fun. We're gonna link to the archives of that below. A lot of good matches. I haven't watched the full archive. I was kind of there for the live stream a bit. Yeah, watch if you're a fighting game fan, watch Ultra Chen TV. They talk about a lot of stuff that goes on at tournaments and issues that like are raised in the community, or just fun stuff that happens that kind of happens off stream that you can't always see if you're just watching the tournament footage and stuff. Really really cool guys, and also they occasionally they live stream games and just kind of play around and try teaching new beginner fighting game people, you know, how to play properly, how to level up, as the fighting game
Yes.
community calls it, and
How to level up your game, how they even had I think they even have an episode where they showed off like how to use an arcade stick too.
yeah, just like really really nice stuff like that. A lot of good resources. I mean, I'll be the first to say I'm terrible at Street Fighter 4 and all the derivatives of that. I used a lot of their stuff for just trying to work on my Street Fighter 4 footsie game, and I noticed some improvement after a while. It takes practice, but man, they have some good resources on their archives and stuff. So yeah, cool stuff. Um, Speaking of Ultimax, though, I guess we have some Adachi DLC details. So this is Japan only, from what I know right now. Basically, in Japan, what's happening is if you pre-order Ultimax, or if you have a first-run copy of Ultimax, you get the Adachi DLC for free, and then after that, it's something like $8.
Yeah, 800 yen.
Yeah, 800 yen. I don't know if we have news on a North American release plan for that, but
But it is probably coming. They just haven't announced it yet because they want to build up suspense.
yeah.
It is a Dachi after all.
So that Arxis DLC stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
that's another thing. Speaking of DLC, well, I guess let's save that for a bit later. Um, but
the Adachi video came out, and oh my god, he looks pretty fun. Like,
Yeah. Oh, also, from what I understand, not only is that a character DLC, it also comes with a story mode
yeah, it comes with the story mode.
called Episode Adachi. So from what I understand, I think there's two in the base game. I think there's two story modes. There's Episode
Yeah,
P3 and Episode P4.
yeah.
So and then there's Episode Adachi apparently now.
See, so rumor has it that there's a fourth story mode.
I would not be surprised if there was an episode show.
Yeah,
'Cause didn't Labrys have her own thing after you did everything else in P4A?
yeah.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if Show had his own little thing. It would make sense.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, look forward to Adachi stuff and hopefully the North American release stuff for that. A lot of people kind of getting mad over the DLC stuff. Now, one thing that I think both of us have kind of talked about and want to clarify is technically we don't know if this is Arxis or Atlus doing the DLC thing for Ultimax. But the thing is, it wouldn't be surprising if it was both.
Atlus did try to damage control the DLC thing. They tried to write it off as, oh, we put so much into the game, we just kind of forgot about Adachi, so it just tacked him on as DLC. I was
Yeah,
like, come on, you guys didn't forget about him.
That's kind of BS.
Yeah.
That sounds so bullshit. But yeah, so a lot of people are kind of like, oh, are there going to be any other characters? And they'll probably be DLC if there are. So hopefully we see more stuff.
I
with
wouldn't
that.
mind. I wouldn't mind if it was like a spoiler character that's DLC.
Yeah, a certain protagonist.
A certain
Demi-Fiend.
protagonist that you nom, but just yeah, Demi-Fiend. Demi-Fiend isn't. It would make sense for Demi-Fiend to be in there because he can move about the Amala network.
Yes. Oh man, no, that's bullshit though. How can you? But that's ruining the Persona canon, Katsu. I mean, by making that canon, you're ruining
Yeah.
the entire experience of Persona. How can you make such a contrivance canon?
Gee, I wonder why. I wonder how I can. Let's move on to the next
That's like
subject.
saying Persona Q is canon. Okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves because let me tell you, if Persona Q is canon, I'm not buying that shit anymore because that's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
I don't
know,
want
right?
I don't want none of this
It's not
fan
like-
service crap in my Persona timeline.
It's not like the timeline for the franchise has been screwed up before. I mean, it's not like Raido Kuzunoha versus the Soulless Army exists.
What's that? That's not a thing though.
Yeah, that's not a thing.
Okay, so for those of you who haven't been following, don't get the joke. Fucking
Persona Q is canon.
yeah, and we knew this already. We've known this forever, but there's no real Western news on it. So if you're not one of those hardcore Mega 10 people that are crazy and craving Japanese information, and you go look at all the translated articles and whatever the hell that comes out, John Harden recently went to a few sites. I think it was just Siliconera and maybe Gamasutra, something like that. He basically just told outlets like that, hey, Persona Q is canon, just spread the word so no one's confused. To which a shit ton of people responded like, what? How is it canon though? Certain people shouldn't be alive, and this is ruining Persona by making this canon.
I'm like, guys, and these are the same people who have never played Persona 2 Innocent Sin. I even asked some of these people. I was like, hey, have you guys ever played Persona 2 Innocent Sin? They were like,
'Cause
no.
There's been timeline bullshit before. Like this is not new. Like the entire
This is
Mega
nothing
10
new.
the entire Mega 10 timeline is full of bullshit, and then just like this is just a little bit more added bullshit, and just we shouldn't care at this point.
And everyone's having a baby over it.
Yeah, it's hilarious because it's like, guys, it's not even that. First of all, I don't get why people care if it's canon or not, because whether or not it's canon, it's still going to be a fucking fun game. Second of all, like, just take a step back and look at everything else, because to be completely honest, all these games are super duper not connected, and then just there's bullshit story contrivances to make them connected. Like, it's
Yeah.
already bullshit in the first place, so Persona Q being made canon really doesn't change anything. Like, it's just more time travel and mind wiping BS or whatever, so just
Yeah.
calm down if you're one of the people mad. But it's so crazy, though, because I just see so many people that freaked out, like, no, how can they ruin this golden sacred
How
cow
could they-
that is the Persona timeline?
How could they ruin my virgin timeline with
Yeah.
this stain?
This is bullshit 3DS fan servicey chibi bullshit. Like, holy shit. People make me laugh.
Yeah.
And I know I can laugh at this a little bit harder than most people because I did the whole fucking timeline thing and all that, but I'm that guy. But fucking I'm just looking at all these comments like you guys are really overreacting because it really it doesn't change the game. Like the game is still going to be Persona Q and it's still going to be the same. Just because it's canon or not really doesn't affect the quality of the game at all. Like fucking
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just when people look at Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo or something, they don't go, "Oh shit, that's not canon to the Street Fighter timeline. Fuck that noise, 0 out of 10." Like it doesn't matter. Jeez,
Uh,
people are crazy. Um, but yeah, speaking of Persona Q, it's out.
it's out, and a lot of people were upset for many reasons outside of the canon one.
Well, let's talk about the release and stuff first. So first, couple things I want to touch on. First thing is that it opened to quite good reviews, not like super amazing, oh my god, it's perfect, but good and great
Yeah.
reviews. Like it's apparently a really solid game, so that's good news. I didn't see any negative reviews at all, at least from the Japanese outlets. So
Some of
like
these Japanese outlets are bullshit, though.
yeah, like so,
Famutsu's like the king of bullshit mountain
they
when it
gave
comes
All
to
Star
review.
Battle a perfect score. I
They gave
love that
Arcana
game.
Heart. They gave Arcana Heart 3 Love Max a really shitty score, and All Star Battle a perfect score.
All Star Battle is not perfect. I'm sorry. Like
Vanilla or All Star Battle got a perfect
I know
vanilla.
that's so crazy. Um, but yeah, like that game was just broken. Like even if you're not a fighting game fan, you could tell that game is fucking broken. If you spend 5 minutes with Vanilla All Star Battle, problems become apparent. Um, oh geez, but yeah, like I saw a lot of like seven, well not seven, like more like 8 out of 10 was kind of a common thing I saw there, like somewhere around that range. From scores and stuff. And I guess there's a few things I want to talk about with just Persona Q stuff, and there's going to be no spoilers, so if you're worried about that, calm down. Um, Two things that I want to bring up. The first one is that if this wasn't confirmed already, it's confirmed now. Persona Q is Etrian Odyssey first, Persona second. So
Yeah.
if anyone here was not expecting that, or if anyone listening just did not see that coming, or haven't listened to past episodes where we kind of touched on this, now that the game's out, yup, it's actually not a C5, but called Persona Q with like Persona characters and a Persona story and stuff. So expect very different gameplay. And man, some of those like dungeon maps and stuff just seem crazy. Like I've seen a few
Yeah.
people on Twitter post stuff, and I'm like, oh shit, that looks really fun, but really hard.
Those dungeon maps are freaking huge, and there's a lot of dead ends and twists and turns. You guys are gonna suffer.
You know, because Etrian Odyssey lets you draw your own map, but now they kind of casualized it, if that's a word, and made it so that you can just turn auto map on. I was totally because when I play Untold, I really like drawing the maps because it reminds
Yeah.
me of when I was a kid and I played Zelda, and I'm like, yeah, I get to draw the maps and stuff. And just like that's a thing I don't get enough of in games where you actually need to draw something or write little notes down. I always thought that was really fun as a kid, so just I loved Etrian Odyssey because it let me relive that. I fucking look at the Persona Q maps and I'm like, maybe might go with auto map for this one. Not sure yet. So
Yeah, they
yeah,
look really painful.
like they just look really convoluted. So a lot of fun with that. And then also another thing is just I know a few people that have imported it, and I've talked with them, and these are more so personal friends than online friends even, but one of them, and I thought this was something I should bring up, and it's not a spoiler, but it is about the story. So it's about the story in general. So maybe tune out if you want to have a totally complete fresh experience and don't want to know anything. But he just said about the story in general that he was surprised to see how much of the story is Ray and Zen's and not the Persona 3 and 4 casts. Because the marketing really seems like Ray and Zen are just kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, that's not really the case. Like Ray and Zen are very integral to the plot of the game, and it's mostly their story, which I'm actually kind of happy about. um, and just I've been spoiled on a bit of the story itself, and I'm not going to say anything just for people listening. But if you were worried about the game having a shitty story because it was like a fan servicey kind of milked spin-off or whatever, don't worry about it because apparently well, just from what I know, the story looks really good. Which is good because they totally could have just fucked it up for the sake of fan servicey stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's good fun. And I guess the other thing we should talk about real quick regarding spoilers is our new COS spoiler policy that we're gonna go for because this is actually something that I didn't think about until I was browsing Persona Gaff, just the Persona community thread, and I saw that people are really they're having some major discussion there about how exactly they should handle Ultimax and Persona Q spoilers and stuff like that, and a lot of the NeoGAF people seem to get really, really intense about spoiler stuff. So that like I was just looking at that discussion, like, man, I don't know what to do about COS then because we spoil everything, but we've never had like a new game come out yet since COS was started because we started this when
Yeah.
SMT4 like a few months after SMT4 came out. So no real new SMT has come out since then. Everything's been like a re-release or a remake or something or a port. So I think what me and Katsu decided is that after the North American release of a game like Persona Q or something, okay, say Persona Q comes out, starting from that day on, we're not going to spoil anything until 2 months have passed. So after 2 months, that then we'll whenever that time is up, during that episode of COS, we'll give a little disclaimer at the start. Okay, Persona Q spoilers are fair game now. If you don't want to listen anymore until you're done with Persona Q, then just stop. And yeah, so that being said, me and Katsu might not even be done with Persona Q yet. Right? Or whatever game we're gonna be talking about when those 2 months are up, so we might not even be ready to talk spoiler stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
Persona Q, I've heard, is a really long game.
John Harden said on the subreddit it's probably gonna be 100 hours
Yeah.
if you do both routes. So,
It's since I'm gonna be uploading parts onto YouTube, but it's gonna take me even longer.
oh shit, you are? Okay.
Yeah.
Have fun with that. I'm just,
Probably just gonna upload only the boss fights.
oh, okay. Um, oh man. But yeah, fucking that seems like a long game. I'm not entirely sure if you do both routes, if you get anything, like if you do the P3 story then the P4 story. I don't know if you get anything for that. I'm assuming there's some sort of new game plus because John Harden made it pretty clear that the second playthrough is going to be a lot shorter. So I'm assuming new game plus is going to be involved in some way.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, seems like a lot of fun though, and yeah, I guess that's just gonna be our spoiler thing because I don't know, it's kind of hard because I really don't. I am in the vast minority in this where I really don't care about spoilers, and I've never really had a spoiler affect my opinion of like a game or movie or anything. Like I've been spoiled on a lot of stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's still good. I can appreciate the writing, I can appreciate the story still. But it's kind of hard for me to comprehend how people get angry over some stuff, which I know sounds weird to pretty much everyone listening to this, but it's just so foreign to me because I've never been like spoiled on something then gotten really that upset over it. Just I guess I'm just able to detach myself from it a bit. I don't know because it's just weird for me because I know that everyone else gets very upset about spoilers, but just I've never really cared, and I've always been that way since I was younger. So it's really hard for me to like kind of judge stuff like this. I mean, even COS, we fucking spoil everything. So
Yeah, we do.
yeah, yeah, really, really tough time trying to figure out what to do with that. But yeah, we're gonna keep to a no spoiler policy for 2 months until past the NA release of the new games or just whatever new games in general. Not even just the four Persona games coming up. So yeah, I think that about covers all that info. Well, I guess we have one more Persona Q related thing to talk about, and that is DLC personas. You want to explain this one?
DLC Persona. So, when Persona Q came out, we got two DLCs to go with it. Two DLC Personas to be exact. Orpheus Telos and Kaguya. And they were free. So everyone's like, yeah, free DLC. You know they're Personas and they should be in the game. Yeah. And
But they're
then
free, so
the
don't look
very
at it.
next week, yeah, the very next week, we got Thanatos and Magatsu Izanagi, and they were $2 each, and everybody lost their shit.
Yeah, so this has been a thing that a lot of people are really angry about is that Persona Q has DLC personas, and I think now there's a like commentary or whatever the fuck I always forget what they call them in game. The little voices, the announcers or whatever for the
Hmm.
fights. Apparently, the Velvet Room siblings are now DLC for that
Yeah,
to be your battle announcers. So this is actually something that a lot of people are angry about now is this DLC stuff.
justifiably so.
Yeah. So I think this is kind of something that the Western fan base just kind of had happen underneath them because we probably should have seen this coming. We just didn't because SMT4 had DLC, so it's not really that big of a surprise that Persona Q did. I think everyone just kind of uh, let it go under the radar until Persona Q finally came out, and now we're seeing it. So kind of a surprise for a lot of people, and hell, even I kind of forgot, and I didn't really expect this, but yeah, Persona Q DLC is going to be a thing, and it seems like it's coming out at a fairly decent pace.
Yeah,
Now,
we're probably gonna have an entire season of DLC.
yeah, probably. Now what's really interesting about this is SMT4 was on the edge for a lot of people. I never really recalled seeing any fan going, yeah, I'm done with like SMT4 DLC is too much for me. Like fuck this game, it's stupid. Except for Metal Loki from Game FAQs, but he was never that smart to begin with. I'm sorry, Metal Loki, if you're listening to this, I know you aren't. Um, Man, shots fired. But Game FAQs is terrible. I don't go there anymore. But fucking yeah, I never really saw too many people, I guess I should say, really that upset with SMT4 DLC. But a lot of people were like, this is I'm
This
kind
is
of on the
pretty
edge about
scummy.
this. Yeah, like people were on the edge, and I think what kind of saved SMT4 in that regard was that the
We got
deals,
more than just demons.
yeah, like with Persona Q, we're only getting personas. With SMT4, you not only got a demon, you got a side quest, you got a piece of armor, you got quite the package. And I think what else helped that was that SMT4 DLC was pretty reasonably priced.
Yeah.
Nothing really that expensive. I think the most expensive stuff was the story, like bonus boss DLC. Um, and I know there's a few people that got kind of upset over the bonus boss DLC stuff because people had problem with or people had a problem with parts of the story being locked away under DLC. I hate to break it to those people, but like the story bits and pieces we got from the bonus bosses and those DLCs were really stupid, and you like they really don't change anything from SMT4. Like
Yeah.
I think people that
There aren't
complain
really
about
any
that.
surprise. There aren't really any surprising revelations that change the entire aspect of the game.
The only big thing, and no, I guess spoiler, is that Mastema locked away the four archangels, and even that, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's just Mastema being a dick again. Like, there was
Yeah.
really, like, it really didn't affect the game that much. So I always don't comprehend. Like, every time I see someone complaining, like, oh, what I hated about SMT4 is that the story was locked away in DLC. I'm like, did you fucking buy the DLC? Because it really didn't change anything.
Yeah.
It wasn't even that big of a deal, honestly. But the thing with SMT4 DLC is that, uh, yeah, it was reasonably priced, and if the stuff was kind of half and half because some of the stuff was bonus bosses and such, and the other stuff was kind of pay to win or pay to be better at the game, where you would get a lot of levels from certain side quests or stat raising items
Yeah. And
or really good armor.
it would just trivialize the difficulty. Well, armor in SMT4, it was never really that great.
Yeah, that's true. Even the DLC armor, like armor in SMT4 doesn't change too much, to be completely honest. It helps, but
Yeah.
especially towards the end, it's like sort of a non-issue. Um, but yeah, just that was kind of the thing because people that didn't want to buy the pay-to-win stuff probably just didn't. Like I know I didn't. I just bought the bonus boss stuff when it went on sale for Black Friday. So people just really didn't care.
Hmm.
Fucking so that was kind of a non-issue, but people are starting to care with Persona Q because they're just personas.
We're getting less
Yeah, we're getting less for around the same price. They're only Personas, which
And
is not great.
the thing is, in Japan, they get microtransaction down to their money to hell and back with all these mobile games. They probably don't even care.
Probably not, because that's just kind of the standard for Japan now. Is just, oh hey, it's a portable game, just
Micro,
microtransactions are a thing.
yeah,
And from what I understand, 200 yen is kind of like the Japanese version of 99 cents, if that makes sense in terms of gaming stuff. At least I've heard two people say this, where 200 yen is just kind of viewed in Japan like 99 cents is here, where hey, it's just the price you pay for extra stuff in portable games, specifically like phone games and stuff like that. But I guess in
yeah.
Japan that apparently is starting to apply to actual gaming handhelds. So maybe when they come over here, they might be 99 cents. I don't know.
The fact
I
that they
haven't
cost
really
money, the fact that they cost money at all, it's just gonna
not go
make
over well.
Atlas USA's job a lot harder.
Yeah, like first of all, I think another thing is there. You look at these personas and it's like it's only a week apart. Why couldn't you have just put these in the game already for free? I
Yeah.
think that's a big thing for a lot of people. And hell, I think that too. Like, why the fuck weren't they just in the base game? But yeah, it's really just odd. Um, I haven't really been able to confirm that 200 yen is 99 cents in the same, like in the mobile market or whatever the fuck, but that sounds kind of realistic to me. So hopefully we'll get something like that. It might just be $2 here. Hell, hopefully someone at Atlus USA decides we could get those for like in the base game, but I know that's unrealistic and that will probably not happen. It'll probably just be DLC. Um, because same way SMT4, our DLC, uh, and when stuff came out here, kind of mirrored how it happened in Japan. So
Yeah.
I think actually we got stuff a little bit on like a tighter schedule where we got two or three pieces of DLC a week, whereas they got just one at a time.
hmm
I could be wrong about that though, or like they got one set at a time. Uh,
I know that was the case for Fire Emblem. They only got like one. They got, I think they got like one DLC, one DLC every few weeks or something like that. I know North America, it got the Fire Emblem DLC a lot faster than Japan did.
yeah, it makes sense, I guess. Just might as well put it all up sooner since
Yeah.
it's done. Um, So yeah, but a lot of people are very angry at Atlus over this, and also the Adachi thing and for Ultimax didn't help either. But I want to point out again that could be Arxis because if you look at Arxis and their DLC practices, they're also very scummy when it comes to DLC. So
Arxis is a bunch of scumbags with their DLC.
they their DLC is fucking crazy. Like their prices, Jesus. Um,
And the worst part is, like, when BlazBlue Continuum Shift came out, we got the characters Makoto and I think it was Makoto, and there was another character.
was it Platinum?
Yeah, yeah, I think it was Platinum.
I think it was
Makoto
Platinum.
and Platinum. They were DLC, and I think they were like $7 each.
God,
And
that's crazy. And then Extend
when
came out like 6 months
Extend
later.
6 months later, they're already in the game, including Relius. Screw you guys who bought the DLC.
Yeah, pretty much. Um, God, that was crazy. It was like it was 6 months. That was ridiculous. Um,
Scumbaggy as hell.
yep. Thanks, Arxis. But yeah, a lot of people have been really mad over the Persona Q stuff. But not only that, I guess we should talk about the Western release for Persona Q that's been detailed a
It's
bit.
$50.
Yeah, it's $50 for the standard edition. First run copies come with I think 11 tarot cards.
Yeah.
The second half of the major arcana, whereas Ultimax is coming. Well, actually, I guess real quick, let's talk about Ultimax. Ultimax North American release uh, comes with a Teddy Bop bag, which is apparently a little like inflatable punching bag thingy.
Yeah. I haven't seen one of those things since like the late 90s. I have
Yeah,
no
you
idea.
had to explain to me what the fuck a bop bag was. I did not. I never have heard of one before. But yeah, apparently you punch it and it just kind of wobbles back into place. So you can punch Teddy now that you have Ultimax. So apparently first run copies of Ultimax coming with the little Teddy bag and the first half of the major arcana in tarot card form.
hmm
And well, I guess they'd be tarot cards. What the fuck else would they be? But so then Persona Q is coming with the tarot cards as well for the standard edition. There's also a collector's edition that comes with a lot of stuff, like a art book and like a 3DS XL case or something like that.
Yep.
That's $80, which I don't really, I don't want to get it, but a lot of people have been crying foul because Persona Q is $50 for the retail release, like SMT4 was. But
We're
let's
getting less again.
let's be honest, 11 tarot cards does not $10 extra make.
Yeah,
That's pretty BS.
that's really scummy.
That is
Once
really
again.
scummy. So with
And
SMT4,
the worst part is, Conception 2 came out for $40, and it came with the freaking soundtrack CD.
yeah, that's the other thing. This fucking standard edition of Persona Q doesn't even come with the soundtrack. What's funny is they said it was at first, and then on their Twitter, like, oh, sorry, that was false info. It's only come with the tarot cards.
Yeah,
So yeah, but SMT4 also came out with $50 because
it came with the guidebook. It came with the soundtrack.
yeah, and it had the nice little box that it came into. I mean, it was
Yeah.
a fucking collector's edition box thing going on there. And that was actually that became an issue later on down the line because the digital version was then $50 and people were saying, "Wait, but I don't want the box in the book. I just want to buy it digitally for 40. Why is it $50?" And basically from what everyone kind of gathered, they had to make it $50 because you can't just make one version of the game cheaper than the other. If you price it one way, you have to price it the same everywhere else.
That's not the case. Well, at least in Japan, because Under Night in Birth is coming out for $60 in Japan, and if you buy it digitally, it's reduced to 55.
They do that. They do that for that's PC that's on PS3, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes Sony does that. Well, I see that sometimes on the PSN store where the digital version of a game will be cheaper.
Mm.
But I think that's just a case where they want both versions to have like no like I think they don't want incentive or something like that to just get it cheaper. Like you just have to make it 50 or it's common practice to make both 50. Um, I do kind of wish though, speaking of digital versions of games and stuff, I'm kind of surprised that the digital version isn't cheaper because fucking when you buy a movie, the digital version's always cheaper. When you buy a book, the digital version's cheaper. I don't get why games can't be the same. Like
Yeah.
Look at Steam, guys. I kind of wish the eShop and PSN. I guess PSN is slightly better with that because
Yeah.
like God, there's a lot of cheap games on PSN that are fairly expensive still physically, but if you get them on PSN, they're cheaper. eShop is pretty bad with digital prices. I'm not gonna lie.
I think it's
Um,
probably just Nintendo being scumbags.
yeah. Well, fucking Nintendo refuses to lower the price of their games. Hold on. I want to see what Skyward Sword's at. Skyward Sword, Amazon. I will bet you that it is not lower than 40. Yeah, it's still $50 new.
Wow.
Uh, when the fuck did this come out? It came out whatever. It came out a long time ago. Skyward Sword for Wii is still $50 new. That is crazy. Nintendo refuses to lower the price for shit. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
Atlas has to do sales and stuff just to get price reductions on their games.
yeah. Um,
Like every
I
2 weeks, Atlas has a sale.
yeah. Oh God. Well, Atlus has sales for everything in North America. Like, there's always an Atlus sale going on in the eShop and always on PSN even. Like, never. Okay, I'm gonna say this. If you're buying the Persona games, or if you're looking into buying the Persona games digitally, do not buy them for full price because I guarantee sometime within the next 3 months they will go on sale.
Yeah.
They always go on sale. Just it's not worth buying them full price on PSN. Especially Persona 2 and 3. I notice those two specifically always fucking go on sale.
Yeah.
Um,
Atlas, every few weeks, Atlas is tweeting, "Hey guys, Persona 2 Innocent Sin, Eternal
yeah.
Punishment, and Persona 3 are on sale. Get
Yep.
them now."
Yes, those, geez, almost always they're on sale. But Soul Hackers actually does go on sale a lot too. But anyways, um, yeah, just the price and stuff with that became an issue. But then people kind of dropped it later on when they kind of explained, well, we had to make it 50 everywhere because of the collector's edition. But then people were kind of worried, well, what if other companies start charging $50 for a 3DS game? And no, I don't think anyone really ever did, so that people kind of calmed down about that. And then now Persona Q is out and it's $50 for really no reason, and people are mad. And I'm not gonna
You
lie,
know what's odd? You know
I,
what's odd? Atlas publishes Conception 2, and it's 40. Etrian Odyssey was 40, wasn't it?
I think it was 40. I want to say it was 40.
So why is it that it's the mainline Why is it that Megaten games are so expensive?
Because they know the fan base is rabid and that they'll pay for it.
True.
That's the only real reason, I think.
I'm buying Persona Q at launch.
I know that's the bullshit part. I'm like, I am mad that it's $50, but I'm still buying it.
Yeah.
And I would
I'm
totally.
part of the problem, and I can't help
I
it.
know it's bullshit. Fuck the man. Um, no, but fucking, I would totally get the collector's edition of Persona Q. That being
But
said,
there's a
Quantum
lot of stuff coming out.
Quantum Devil Saga's coming out. Ultimax is coming out. I kind of want to get Ultra Street Fighter 4. Like, I'm like Atlus. I would totally do it, but just I can't.
Atlus, please.
Yeah. Speaking of that, they also said John Harden also said that Ultimax will have a collector's edition. It's just not shown yet. So that
Collector's edition is probably coming with the Adachi DLC. I guarantee it.
something like that. Man, I fucking hate when DLCs and special editions like
Yeah.
Metal Gear Rising. I think if you pre-ordered it from a certain place, you got the Gray Fox DLC, and that was not available forever until recently. But that being said, let us move on to. Well, I guess yeah. I think we covered the whole controversy with people being mad that Persona Q is $50, and
Mm.
yeah, it's pretty bullshit. Anyways, I guess moving on to E3 stuff.
Soejima was at E3.
Yeah. Actually, I should probably say the release information that we just listed off was pretty much all said around E3. So, or I guess the first few
Yeah.
days of E3. So, but yeah, Soejima was there.
Also, before we get into Soejima, Ultimax has not been confirmed for region lock.
All that too. And every time they're questioned, they say we're going to talk about that soon.
And they haven't talked about it yet. Yu Namba was asked on the Ultra Sen stream. He kind of shied away from the topic. It is
Yeah.
not looking good.
Yeah. Oh, that's a sketchy situation. Because like it's sketchy simply because they don't want to say yet. You know.
Yeah.
Um.
I feel like Atlus USA is just begging for Atlus Japan to not region lock it.
It's really
And
under the
Atlus
impression I get too, because Atlus Japan doesn't give a shit, because they don't have to hear the European fans getting all angry over it. Fucking
don't have
Atlus
to-
USA has to deal with that, so I just imagine, yeah, John Harden
Like,
and like you
Atlus Japan can make the most scummiest decisions, and they don't have to own up for it ever because they don't understand English. All the complaints go to Atlus USA. I think they know that too. Such scumbags.
John Harden and Yunava are just like flying over, just like, hey, let's talk about region locking, like, and then
Yeah.
just I imagine them calling at like 1 a.m, like, hey, you guys, you didn't hit the region lock switch on, did you? Just
Yeah,
some Atlus programmer like maybe. And
maybe.
just like please don't. You're gonna make my life hell.
Oh my god, I feel so bad for John Harden and Yu Namba. They deal with so much.
John Harden especially because he has to deal with all that shit.
Yeah. If I see that guy in real life, I'm giving him a hug.
He deserves it.
Yeah.
A Katsu hug.
Yeah, Sakatsu hug.
Fucking. Oh, also, I guess speaking of Katsu hugs, a certain someone's turning 21 tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to be 21.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Well, by the time this uploads, I'll already be 21.
Yay. I wish I had like little horn or something I could play and celebrate, but yeah, that's not here. So have fun getting drunk tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Soejima was 83. I guess for the most terrible segue ever. Soejima was probably drunk at E3 was the thing. No.
Nah.
No, probably not. So yeah, he was apparently autographing stuff, and they were giving out Ultimax posters and signing
Yeah.
them stuff.
That was like the first time Soejima has ever done anything like that before.
Yeah, apparently that was surprising. Apparently, not only has this is his first time ever really meeting with Western fans. This was apparently the first time he ever did like a little autograph thing or like a meet and greet type of thing like this.
Yeah.
So it's really funny that he's doing it out west because you would think that for the first time
He would do it in Japan first.
Yeah, like it'd just probably be a lot easier.
Damn, I think that has a lot to do with Atlus USA trying to tell Atlus Japan that they need to get in touch with the Western fan base more, because Atlus Japan is really out
If
of
not,
touch with the Western
if
fan.
not the company, the people within the company saying, "Hey, we should." Maybe like the people within Atlas of Japan saying, "Hey, you know what? I kind of want the Western fans' input on this," because actually that's a big part of what Soejima said too.
Yeah,
He actually told people, "Hey, it's I see what the Japanese fans want all the time. I hear the feedback from the Japanese fans every day. Because of the language barrier, because of the geographical difficulties, it's hard for me to get in contact with Western fans and get their input and their view on things. So yeah, just write to me or write to Atlas of you or Atlas USA or whatever, and he'll try taking Western fans' stuff into consideration."
but don't send them anything crazy, because I know you Persona fans. You guys are insane. You guys are nuts. You guys will tell him the most ridiculous stuff. Especially the Tumblr Persona fan base. Please put a trans pans bi character in Persona 5 and 6. Please put this special snowflake gender in Persona 12 or whatever. You guys are
Persona 12.
nuts.
Um,
I'm not hating on special snowflake genders either. I'm just saying. I call them
well,
special snowflake genders because I'm an asshole, but still.
well, no, it's just you're not making fun of such stuff like that. You're just making fun of Tumblr people and their
Yeah.
craziness.
And how insane they are.
I mean, they're most regular people that are very accepting just think Tumblr people go too far too even. So
Yeah.
yeah, like there's being nice and then there's being Tumblr, and you don't want to be Tumblr, but yeah, basically just Soejima was saying, hey, I want Western fans' opinion on stuff. Just guys, hook me
Yeah.
up, and I'll try doing stuff. So that's really cool because we don't ever
First thing
really
I
hear
tell
from Atlas in
Soejima is to
Japan.
work on his Yeah. I tell Soejima to work on his necks first.
Everyone looks like a giraffe.
Especially Junpei. Poor Junpei.
I actually think I saw like a comment on some site somewhere like I would ask him to make the necks just a little shorter because it's kind of awkward at this point because like it
Yeah.
seems like they get longer and longer with each project.
They see like the rest of his art gets more stylized and more he uses like heavier uses of black ink in his art, which makes it more stylized lately, but still his necks.
Oh man. Yeah, that was really it for Soejima at E3. Apparently, just hung out, had a good time. But we got some fairly big news from Intelligent Systems when they were talking about their new game. I think it's Project Steam, codename Steam, something like that. Um,
Yeah, it's a game directed by Miyamoto.
yeah, it actually looks really cool. It's a tactical, like a strategy game combined with a third-person shooter. Looks really fun, and as soon as I saw like the stuff with that, it's for 3DS. I was
Kind of
like,
reminds me of Valkyria Chronicles.
yeah, that a lot of people were saying that. Just when I was seeing the gameplay stuff, I'm like, why has no one combined these two genres before? It's such a perfect idea. So like it just seems really awesome. But then people were starting to like during the stream and stuff, people were starting to freak out a little bit, like does this mean SMT Cross Fire Emblem's canceled? Because fucking Intelligent System should be working on that. Let's be serious here. So apparently
Yeah.
some journalist actually raised the question to the staff, hey, what's up with SMT Cross Fire Emblem? To which we got the response, oh, Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem is still being worked on. It's right on schedule.
Please have mercy. I can't say much.
Yeah, I can't say much or else I'll lose my job. To which everyone goes, oh hey, SMT Cross Fire Emblem is still alive, yay. And then to
Yay.
which everyone else immediately went, how the fuck did you schedule this thing?
Yeah.
Because if it's apparently their schedule involved announcing the game then not talking about it for a solid year until questioned about it. like,
You can't just leave people hanging about that. That's game development 101.
like apparently that was their schedule though. They had the SFT Cross Fire Emblem calendar, their like announcement, and then they just left rest of the months blank. But fucking that made me die because It's like, oh yeah, it's right on schedule. They didn't even seem like they were going to talk about it unless someone asked. So we could have just had no news at all, and everyone would have been in the dark. Like it's really under the impression at this point that Atlus called Intelligent Systems or Intelligent Systems called Atlus, whichever one. They're like, hey, I want to do a thing, and the other company was like, fuck yeah, and then it's just like, okay, let's shit out a trailer real quick, and then they made a trailer and then they sent it into Nintendo like, okay, let's not work on this for another year. Um, let's not say anything about this for another year. It exists and that's all everyone needs to know. Um, Actually, I kind of have a theory about that because that E3 or I guess that time period when you look at the Wii U, this is something I was thinking. I actually don't think SMT Cross Fire Emblem was supposed to even be really announced then. I have a feeling that Nintendo said, "Hey, we don't have any JRPGs or anything RPG at just to show off for the Wii U, and that's a crowd we want buying the Wii U. That's a crowd we want to get hyped for the Wii U. Hey, you guys have plans to make this? We'll make a short trailer real quick just to show to the RPG crowd that it exists."
So pretty much what probably happened was Atlas and Intelligent System probably just got started on development. Maybe not even the concept art was finished yet, and Nintendo approached them.
Yeah, just like, hey, we want a trailer. It would make sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, at least we know it's still alive. And it's not dead. So a lot of people were starting to think it was dead at this point. Uh, I mean, you've said this before multiple times on the podcast. I think you always say that intelligent systems just that's kind of how they are with game development.
Yeah,
Like
that's how they roll.
they just work on stuff secretly and don't really talk much except for the fact that like they just kind of confirm things are still being worked on. Um, which can be kind of frustrating, not gonna lie, but hey, it's just how they roll, I guess.
Yeah, they're weird.
Um, I guess we got one last big bit of E3 news then, and that was how do we talk about this? Well, actually, first thing I want to say is I want to plug a certain Twitter and actually I guess website. It's this I think it's this smaller outfit. I'm not entirely sure how big they are, but they have leaked Atlus information multiple times on Twitter, and I think hold on, let me find their Twitter real quick. Is it? Yeah, okay, this is the site. So their Twitter is at RPG site, RPGSITE, and uh, quite a while back they leaked that Rido 1 was coming to PSN, and I saw a retweet from one of the people I was following, and I'm like, I wonder if this site's legit. Like, I can't find any other news. And then hours later, we got confirmation Rido 1's coming to PSN. And then when during the E3 stuff, I had started following the site, and I saw that this site had tweeted SMT4 come to Europe digitally in digital form this summer. And I'm thinking, is this site legit? Because like they leaked it and no one else had said anything. Hours later, sure enough, we got information SMT4 coming to Europe this summer digitally. So obviously these guys have insiders. They are in the Atlas machine somehow. So yeah, follow RPG site if you want to get Atlas news earlier than everyone else apparently because fucking they leak shit. They've leaked two pieces of information now in terms of Atlas stuff. Really cool. Uh, but I guess going from there.
Shin Megami Tensei 4 is coming out in Europe.
Yay! But people are mad because it's digital only, and people we're not we're stern. Hold on. And we're still not sure on the pricing for that. Some people are thinking it's going to be full price. Other people are thinking maybe it's full price with all the DLC. No real word on the DLC stuff either. I guess just all we know that it's coming out this summer. And a lot of people are angry because digital only, and specifically a lot of people are angry because not only the digital thing, but also because Nintendo's digital policies are kind of shitty because
Scumbaggy.
well, if you there's no real account system, so if you lose your console or you lose your 3DS or whatever, you lost all your games.
Nintendo's online thing is so ass backwards.
It's not good. Because yeah, if you apparently you can call and they'll generally be able to get everything back for you, but it's still an extra process that I shouldn't have to call Nintendo to get my shit back. I should just be able to log in somewhere, get my stuff downloaded, and then
Re-download everything,
call it a
call it a
day.
day.
Like if my PS3 dies, I can fucking get probably about $200-300 worth of games I've spent on it, like spent worth of downloadable stuff at this point. I just need to log in on a new
Yeah, I
PS3 and
still
get it back.
like my PlayStation 3 account still has stuff that I downloaded like 5 years ago.
Yeah. Um, it's it's crazy how Nintendo stuff works. So, and then also there's a lot of people that just like collecting games, or just like getting the physical release, that are very upset over it. So yeah, a lot of people are very angry because very frustrating release with SMT4. Since if you haven't been following the development of SMT4 in Europe, there's just no word on it other than the fact that it existed forever, and now finally we're getting it, and well, I guess they're
It's
getting it.
digital only.
It's digital only.
And it's like, I know it sucks, but you have to, if you're an SMT fan, if you're a Mega 10 fan, I feel like you need to get this game to show that it's still worth putting out the effort to release a game in Europe, because let's be honest, SMT does not sell in Europe.
Yeah, so that's the thing what I talked about. So a lot of people are very angry about this and been saying that Atlus is price gouging and that Atlus is really being greedy with this. And Atlus has been in hot shit recently. Like we talked about the Persona Q issues and the Ultimax issues and stuff like that that have been recently coming up. And I think both of us kind of still like, yeah, Atlus, that's not great. Fucking stop it. This is something that I don't think this is bullshit. It sure it sucks, sure it's frustrating, but the thing with Mega 10 in Europe is that it historically has not sold well. So let's look at this historically. First real issue that at least I can recall being a big thing is that Persona 4 Arena was region locked by Atlus of Japan because they did not want reverse importation, because Japanese players could theoretically just import the North American copy for cheaper.
For cheap, and then it will lose revenue for Atlus of Japan.
And that was kind of a short-term monetary decision uh, that Atlus of Japan made, and it was greedy, but what ended up happening was, well, first of
Like, the
all,
North American release came out 11 days later, so it wasn't that bad.
like, yeah, but from what I hear too, they're just in general, it seemed like a lot of I think you said something like this, like the only real people in Japan that really were considering importing were the people that
Who,
like the American players
yeah,
that lived in Japan, right?
yeah, Giuna, who's an American player who lives in Japan, he couldn't even buy Persona 4 Arena until the English version came out because he brought his English PS3 with him.
Yeah, so like
So
I think that was
he was shit out of luck for 11 days. He was so mad.
because it really seemed like Atlas of Japan was reigning over something, whereas see, I think a big thing too is that Japanese fighting game players, they want to get that shit day one. They don't want to import stuff. They don't want to wait. Like
Yeah,
they want to get the practice in.
they want to get it day one.
So
They want to go on. They want to go in training mode. They want to go online, get matches in, get their PSR up, all that stuff
yeah,
day
so,
one.
so apparently what really happened is that became a non-issue in
That was a
Japan.
non-issue from the get-go.
So yeah, so that wasn't basically Atlas of Japan really did they added the region locking for no real reason there, because just in general no one it wasn't an issue
No
in
one
the
gave a
first
shit.
place. Yeah, no one gave a shit. However, when it came time for it to be released in other regions, we got the North American version, but then sadly the European version came
Shafted to all hell. It came out almost a year later.
yeah, it came out a long time afterwards, and the sad
Pretty
part
much it
about
was dead
that,
on arrival.
yeah, basically what happened, Atlas of Japan decided to region lock it without even thinking about Europe, and sure enough, Europe got fucked over. And Persona 4 Arena was kind of a stillbirth, to put it kindly. Um,
Only Persona fans really bought the game. Any fighting game fans who bought it, they might have just played it for a few weeks and then just dropped it.
yeah, like it did not have a very big European scene because of the region locking fiasco, which is depressing. And also just the fact that it was delayed for so long too is a big issue because with fighting games it's very important to have global releases
Yeah.
because everyone wants to get practice in the same amount of time and just have it on equal
I
footing.
think it was just like a bad call on Atlus's part because it was the first ever fighting game that they were going to release worldwide. They'd had no idea about the practices that went into it.
Yeah, like I mean, fuck, even it took until this gen for like Capcom to even kind of get better with
Yeah.
that. And I think SNK, I don't actually, I don't even remember how King of Fighters 13 went with that.
Blade, like Arc Sys with Blaze was still kind of scummy though. At least we're getting Guilty Gear around the same time as Japan is getting into console.
That's nice. That's really nice, actually. Um, but yeah, so that was kind of the first issue, and then from there, a few months later, maybe a year later, at that point, Ghostlight announces that they're bringing over Devil Survivor 2, but there's a catch. They need a certain amount of pre-orders to bring the game over.
They had to hold the game ransom until they got 1,500 pre-orders or something like that.
It was something really small like that, yeah. Like they basically said, we can't justify working and putting in the developmental costs until we get this amount of game, like until we get this amount of orders in, or else we can't do it. We're not going to make the money back. It's not going to be worth it. Which a lot of people were pretty upset about, but I will give Ghostlight credit. It's better that they said that because let's be serious. At least they were upfront and honest about it. Like, hey, uh, here's the situation. If you want to order, that would be great, and then we can bring it over. Or else, just we can't. We can't as a company. That is pretty cool. Um, and then from what I understand, it just barely made it over the mark that
Yeah.
they needed for that. And then Devil Survivor 2 sold pretty. I mean, of course, it made its money back because they got enough pre-orders, but it did
Outside
not
of that,
sell that much.
yeah, it didn't sell that much.
Um,
It did not sell that much. Like saying it didn't sell that much is putting it lightly.
and I guess even around that same time, Ghostlight was working to get Digital Devil Saga on PSN as a PS2 classic, and they ran into issues, and basically they couldn't get it working.
Yeah.
There were emulation problems with the PS2
Sony,
emulator,
yeah, and they tried contacting Sony. Sony didn't even bother.
and what's important about this story is that it wasn't until the
When
US version
Atlas
came out.
USA started putting games on the PlayStation Network that Sony started caring.
Yeah, it wasn't until the US version came out and the work was pretty much already done where Sony kind of stepped in and said, "Okay, we'll help out with the rest because it's worth it for us now." Just case in point, I guess, just if we're doing this project and it's Europe only, we're not going to really make the money, so why help? Oh, hey, it's releasing in America now too. Okay, let's help now. So that was kind of the situation with that, where it's like it took until Atlas USA did something for the European project to even really get going after it had been paused for so long. And yeah, that was kind of a bad situation there. And then later on, I think I want to say it was Ghostlight again. Was Ghostlight in charge of Devil Survivor Overclocked in Europe?
I don't know.
Um, Devil Survivor Overclocked came out in Europe after I want to say it was a long time, like a year long wait, maybe a year and a half even.
Yeah.
It was a very long wait for the 3DS. Well, it's only.
Did they even get the first Devil Survivor?
I don't think so.
Ah.
At least I don't remember them. I don't recall them ever getting it. But Devil Survivor Overclocked came out really late, and the development, you could tell the development was very, very cheap.
Very cheap, very lazy, very fast.
Very buggy. The image that always floated around was Naoya Henry, and for those of you who don't understand, basically in Devil Survivor Overclocked, there's a character named Naoya, and he's your cousin. So when you input your main character's first name and last name, Naoya will have your main character's last name because oh they're related and it makes sense. Uh, the European port was so shitty that when the game came out, Naoya had your character's first name as his last
Hmm.
name because they just didn't fucking care that much. So the image that was floating around had Naoya being shown as Naoya Henry, which is hilarious. um, just a lot of crashing issues. Like I remember reading a thing where this one guy couldn't win a fight if his main character was standing on a certain tile. Like he had to move slightly to the left and beat the boss on a different tile, or else he couldn't advance in the game because it just froze. Just a lot of stuff froze in general. Um, really bad issues that affected people's save games, and just they couldn't play the game. The game was nearly unplayable. I think actually there was a thing where in certain fights you couldn't even summon demons without the game locking up.
That's terrible.
Really, and anyone that's played Devil Survivor just kind of like they gasped when they heard that. I'm figuring because fucking you need to summon demons a lot in that game. That's
Yeah,
just
Devil Survivor's hard.
yeah, especially if you can't summon demons. Near impossible if you don't have a good party, then I think, because let's be honest, it's Mega 10, your demon's gonna die a lot. So unless you revive that shit, um, you're not gonna have a fun time. But I guess what's really important then is basically what that showed is that their development, they had to half-ass development, they had to MacGyver a solution together because they just couldn't get enough money to make a good development process worth it. Because I guess the big thing too is no company wants to release a faulty product if they can help it. When something like that happens, it's because they have to make something for cheap, and they know they can't afford to fix stuff because they're just not going to make the money back. So why bother? And eventually, from what I hear, they did finally patch it after a few months, but it took them
Yeah.
a while.
I think even the worst part is that the Nintendo of Europe isn't doing anything to help.
Actually, that's the thing I want to talk about too. With SMT4 in Europe, I think this is hilarious, and no one's really talking about this. Nintendo of France, we talked about this last podcast. Nintendo of France said that they were working on SMT4 and that they were working on translating it. And then Atlus comes out and talks about SMT4's European release, and they're self-publishing. Nintendo of Europe isn't even involved.
Yeah, they're liars.
Nintendo
On top of not helping out publishers in Europe, they're liars.
Nintendo of France lied. They said they were working on a game they don't even own. Like that's hilarious to me. That's like Microsoft going out and saying, "Oh yeah, we're working on Call of Duty Ghosts," and then Activision like calls them like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Like,
Yeah.
like that is just hilarious to me. They said they were working on a game that they couldn't have because fucking a few weeks later we learn they're not involved at all. That is just mind blowing. Um, Jeez, that is. I don't know what Nintendo of France is smoking. Maybe the guy that was speaking about it or was being interviewed meant another game or something. And he just screwed up. But that is so weird, and I don't know why
That's super scummy. They gave people false hope.
they did. But I just think that's hilarious, and no one seems to be talking about it. But I'm like, Nintendo of France flat out lied to us. It is so weird. Like, why would you lie? Whatever. Uh, But yeah, so then from there, I guess Devil Survivor Overclocked was a very botched release, and once again did not make much money back.
Yeah.
And now, well, I guess Soul Hackers came out once again, kind of delayed, but Soul Hackers was fine. That being said, Soul Hackers is probably the smallest 3DS game. It's a very, very basic port with a few added functions. Not the most complex game to bring over, so yeah, and apparently that sold okay, so just Soul Hackers with Soul Hackers. But I think the important thing to note is that I think it's safe to say at this point, with all these botched releases, Mega 10 is kind of a sinking ship in Europe right now. To the
A
point,
sinking ship. It's been sinking.
yeah, like first of all, I want to say this. After so many releases like this, and I mean, even if you look at the PS2, from what I've heard, if
There
you
were
look at
frame rate issues with Persona 3, I believe.
yeah, like even then, a lot of they had to make the ports kind of cheaper, and from what I understand, the PS2 version, like the PS2 SMT, sold fairly good, but not as good, and just they've kind of tapered off after a while, and just if you look at the European SMT numbers, they're just not there, and they haven't been there for a while, and that explains why all these releases are getting botched. And what's really bad is I actually made an image of this on the COS Twitter just as kind of a joke, but it's serious. We're at a point now where there's European fans that are very upset with Atlus and how they're releasing stuff in Europe, and then Atlus releases another thing in Europe, and it's botched. So then those fans get angry and leave. However, that means Atlus doesn't get their money back, and it's a vicious cycle because Atlus doesn't get their money back. So then they have to make the next release even cheaper.
It's
And
gonna be to the point where Atlus gets nothing back and they just
stop.
drop off Europe. Yeah, they just drop off entirely
And
because
honestly, from looking at Devil Survivor especially, because Devil Survivor Overclocked was bad, like that was rough. Um, I honestly don't think most other companies would even bother at this point. They'd just say, "Fuck you,
yeah,
Europe, we're done. Let's just go NA and Japan only." I think it's
Atlus
actually
is
really crazy that they're still even bothering with
it's
SMT4.
because Atlus is like it's because Atlus does care about Europe. They truly do.
Well,
You have to
I think the
you have
thing is
to
there is that they don't have many fans, but they do have enough that they want to appease and make happy. But then
yeah
they release something that's botched, and then those fans get even more angrier. But those fans would be probably even more angry if they just stopped releasing stuff. So
yeah.
it's a really messy situation because there's only really two ways out of this. First thing is, I guess, probably sadly the cynical side of me says this is probably the more realistic, is that just people get fed up with Atlus and they say, fuck it, I don't even care. I don't want to pay for this. This is bullshit compared to the NA release. And the money just stops coming in, and Atlus says, fuck it, we can't release anything over Mega 10 wise. And also, when I say Mega 10 wise, I guess Persona sells worldwide everywhere. Like, Persona
Yeah.
releases will be fine in Europe, if anything. We're talking Devil Summoner, we're talking Devil Survivor, we're talking mainline. Um, Persona will always be fine. But I honestly think that's probably at this point what could very well happen is just they don't have enough fans and they don't have enough support over there to even bother at that point.
Yeah.
Or what else could happen is that the games start making more and more money for them. They start getting more and more revenue. They can finally, maybe not after the next release, or maybe not even the release after that, but eventually they have enough money to make the releases less shittier, and more on the level of the North American release. And I'm not gonna lie, it's not all the fans' fault. I think it's kind of a two-way thing where I think Atlus could be a little bit more transparent about their release stuff and why exactly they need to release things in the
I
condition
feel
they're in.
like I feel like they are going to talk about Europe once SMC4 comes out.
When
Like once
when
it
it's finally done and the dust
yeah.
settles, that would not surprise me because really what it just seems like is they're very secretive. Well, I guess to be fair, a lot of investors don't like when you say, "Hey, this is going really bad." Like, the ship is sinking at this point. They would rather just everything be a secret. But I think that's a big thing is just Atlus kind of just releases stuff and Ghostlight sometimes helps out, and it's just like, this is shitty, but we don't exactly want to say why. And realistically, it's probably because they just can't fucking afford it. Because once
Yeah.
again, no company wants to make a shitty product. Like, at least not a big company with a large fan base like that. They can't afford to, because if they keep making shitty products, of course the support's going to go away. And another thing I want to talk about too with the digital only thing, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, they could have made a physical release and all their price gouging." That doesn't make sense because I guess for those of you not familiar with how games are released, for a game like SMT4, if you can make it physical and digital, you do. Um, you don't just make it digital because, oh, hey, we'll get more money that way. You get more money if you do have both physical and digital. That's this. Okay, so let's look at JoJo All-Star Battle. When that came over West, the only way you could get a physical version of that game was if you ordered it off of Namco Store or off of Amazon. And hell, I think the physical versions of that game might be all gone already. You might only be able to get it digitally now. I think you had to grab it when it came out, or else they just stopped.
You never got it.
Yeah. Uh, the reason that's pretty much digital only, and I guess ignore the physical releases for now. The reason that's basically digitally only is because they can't justify the cost of printing and the overhead for releasing them physically and just printing out the copies. It doesn't make sense. It's not going to sell enough. No one's going to go into a store and ask for JoJo All-Star Battle. Same thing in Europe. No one in Europe is going to go into a store and ask for Shin Megami Tensei 4. I know there's someone listening to this saying, "But I will," but there's not enough of you is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
The reason it's digital
It's the
is so
it's
that
this It's kind of like the same case with the upcoming Senran Kagura game. They're only selling limited editions online that are physical, while the regular game is digital. You have to get a special edition of the physical one. And the surprising thing is, the physical version that's being online only, it's selling a lot. It has a lot of pre-orders. It's like outselling certain AAA games. It's kind of funny.
That's funny. But that's the big thing is that if you can, you do make it for both physical and digital. For the same reason, Activision's not going to say, "Hey, let's make the next Call of Duty digital only because we want more money." That's not how that works. They want it to be physical and digital because that's what sells the most. If you can, you do both. So that's when I look at SMT4 and I see that it's digital only, I don't look at it and say, "Oh, they just want the money. They don't want to bother. They're too cheap to bother with physical. They just want to price gouge." I look at that and see, "Ouch, the numbers are so bad at this point that they don't even want to bother with physical printing."
Because
That's
they aren't,
rough.
because that's more money that they aren't going to get back.
Yeah, that's rough. Like, because when like that must be a punch in the face when you look at that and say, we like in terms of development cost and just what it's going to take to print all these copies, we're not going to make enough money back. We're not going to get enough units sold. We just need to make it digital and make this a smaller project. It just really looks like a bad situation for Europe all around. And like I said before, I think Atlas is between a rock and a hard place in terms of appeasing European fans. And I'm not even trying to say this from like a I'm really not even trying to say this from the perspective of just, oh, I'm North American, I have the game already, haha. Like, I'm just looking at this from like a business perspective. Like, shit, it really doesn't seem like it's worth it for them at this point. Is the
Yeah,
sad thing.
if I was the big wig in charge of Atlas, I'd probably say just cut off Europe entirely, because it's a really slippery slope that's just going to get even worse.
And
I mean,
yeah, it's tough because if European Mega 10 wants to continue being a thing, it's going to take a lot of work from both the fans to continue stomaching and supporting shitty releases, and also for Atlas to say why the releases had to be shitty in the first place. And it's realistically that might not happen.
it
Putting it
might
that
not
way.
happen. It might
Uh,
not. If
it
we're being realistic here, it might not.
because it looks really rough at this point, and
Yeah.
it's not a fun
I'm
thing to
looking
think
at
about.
some of you. I'm looking at some of you more passionate European fans. I'm like, no, don't be like that. No,
Because
you're just making it worse.
because
No.
that's the thing is it really sucks, and I'm not gonna lie. If I was European, I'd probably be really pissed too. But looking at this realistically and just looking at this in terms of money, um, if you say fuck it, I don't want to buy this, then don't. No one's forcing you to. But then don't be surprised when Mega 10 stops coming to Europe is the other
Yeah,
thing.
and you're only getting Persona games.
Yeah, and like that's just the harsh reality of it is if it stops being profitable, they're gonna cut it off. And that's not even just them being greedy. That's just how companies work. You're not gonna do something you lose money on. That's just basic economics. Um, it's really shitty situation. I hope it works out best of the best way for Europe, but we don't know yet. um, yeah, really tough situation all around. Um, But yeah, I guess even then, that's a big thing with a lot of these scummy practices, or even I guess with the Europe stuff, maybe not so scummy, but just harsh and kind of shitty. Is if you really don't, if something offends you that much, or you don't want to pay for something, then don't. Then if you want to experience it and still get it, then get it used or something. Or if you don't want to pay for the DLC in Persona Q, then don't. Just don't buy it. But that being said, with some of this stuff, if you don't want to support it or you don't want to pay for it, acknowledge the possible repercussions and the possible future of that if many other people decide to take the same action that you do. Everything has a proper response, I guess, if you will. Like, for example, if no one decides to buy the Persona Q DLC, chances are Atlas is gonna be a little less DLC heavy. That being said,
Yeah, they're probably going to clean up their act.
that
And
being
that being
said,
said, it's probably not going to happen.
That being said, realistically, Atlas of Japan makes game for the Japanese, and the Japanese market probably doesn't give a shit about the DLC stuff, and they'll probably buy it like wildfire. So, yeah, maybe that could be tough for us Western fans to make a change like that, but we can try. I mean, fuck, I know I'm not gonna buy the Persona Q Persona DLC. Like maybe if they add, maybe like the Velvet Room sibling thing, that looks kind of cool because say a little fun
Yeah,
announcer
I'll
stuff.
probably buy the. Yeah, I'll buy the Velvet Room DLC, but no way I'm buying Thanatos and Magatsu Izanagi
Yeah,
for
just
$2 each.
and that's what it comes down to is buy the stuff that you like and you feel good about buying. Don't buy something just because it's Persona or Mega 10. That's not being a very good consumer. You're just being blind at that point.
You're just being a sheep.
Yeah, if sheeple. If you think something's worth buying and you want to support something, go for it. If you think something's scummy, then don't. So yeah, I think that's really all we had to talk about for this episode. Should we do emails or?
Nah, we've been going for like an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's been a long enough podcast. We had a lot to cover, and we're back. Finally, we're back. So
Yes, we're back. A dinosaur story.
Yep.
Oh, that should be the cover for this episode.
What?
Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
Oh man, I had that movie when I was like 7. It was good.
Okay, I'll look it up. So yeah, I guess we're done, and we're gonna have a Digital Devil Saga podcast going next week. And yeah,
Yes.
happy birthday, Katsu.
Oh, thank you.
We should make you a cake, but you're far away, so I can't realistically deliver it to you. So that's
Oh,
sad. Yeah. So yeah, see you everyone. Bye.
later.
Like the tiny stars, like that pop whenever it's dark. You keep on blinking at me. You never turn away from me. In this vast gloomy night sky, like the fire up in the night. The journey that we travel for our prize. No matter where we go, we will not stop the shining forever.
Gather demons and come again.